being here. In case you haven't seen, the Big Ten just announced kick times for the following weekend. So we'll be playing Minnesota on the 21st at 6:30 p.m. Central Time kickoff at Ryan Field. You can apply for credentials the same way you applied for this past weekend. If anyone's planning on making the trip to Duke this weekend, just let myself know, and we'll get you all settled there. Otherwise, we'll start with an opening statement from Coach Braun, then go right into questions. If you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand to get my attention, and we'll call on you. Coach?
Exciting Saturday for the team. Very excited to be back in routine. Guys had yesterday off, which was a much needed off day, coming off of a short week. But back in the facility today. A couple corrections from UTEP, and moving on to Duke. Really well-coached football team that is playing really good football right now, playing with a lot of confidence. Play great defense, balanced football on the offensive side of the ball, with high-end quarterback play. So we have a big challenge ahead of us, a challenge that we're excited about. But our guys have done a great job of enjoying Saturday on Saturday, and back in the facility today, and full focus on getting down to Durham and playing our best football.
Coach, in light of your first win on Saturday, just kind of what type of messages did you receive from people close to you around the coaching circles? Was there anybody who really stood out in reaching out to you?
Yeah, it was humbling in a lot of ways. I think the thing that blew me away most was just the continued support from our parents of our players, people within the greater Northwestern community, whether that be alumni, other head coaches, just those that have been alongside us every step of the way. And to have the opportunity to do it so close to home. Kristen and I had a lot of family in town for the game. Bunch of guys that I played college football with at Winona State are Chicagoland guys that were at the game. It was neat to share in that.
Coach, you said that you would have some potential clarity on Ben Bryant's injury from Saturday. What's his status for next week, as well as Brendan Sullivan, who's listed questionable?
Yeah, we're not going to share any specifics, but we anticipate at this time both those guys being available.
Coach, in the second half last week, Josh Thompson came in for Zach Franks at the right tackle spot. Can you just talk us through that decision, and is that Josh's spot now?
Yeah, from day one, we've said that position was going to kind of be by committee between those two young men, that they were going to rotate in. With game one of Rutgers lacking opportunity for the offense in terms of their amount of snaps on the field in the first half, probably didn't get into the rotation that Coach Anderson had hoped. But in the second half, Josh came in. We were hot and stayed with the hot hand. We'll continue to have both those guys rotate in, but certainly was very impressed with the way that Josh came in the second half and moved the line of scrimmage, did some really good things for us.
Just to follow up on that, does that give you any concern about not having all five guys have continuity throughout his rotation?
It doesn't. I think the best O-lines that I've been around do have a sense of rhythm and continuity for sure, but especially early in the season have the ability to rotate, 7 to 8 guys in at times to build continuity, just understanding that you got to find some guys that can be position flexible and be swing guys for you, that allow you to get your best 5 on the field as you start to really identify that as the season goes along. And also an understanding the physicality that is involved at that position, hoping that you stay fully healthy at that position throughout the year, but also understanding that's not always the case, and building depth and confidence by being able to play more than just 5.
Coach, you talked about just now about the injuries, right? But on Saturday we saw a few different quarterbacks. Is there an expectation that will be the same? Lewinsky, Lau, Schiller, just like the mix of guys?
Yeah, Ben Bryant is our starting quarterback, and we plan for that to continue to be the case. utilizing Jack Lausch, who's a quarterback, clearly shows he has the ability to throw as well. But we're finding ways to get Jack involved, just with his athleticism, his playmaking ability. And, to speak on the multiple quarterbacks, I don't want to go without mentioning Ryan. I mean, his ability to come in with poise, operate the offense, and show up with just a ton of passion and energy, again, I think speaks to just the quality character of men in that room. Selfless, coach one another, carry one another. For Ryan to come in and step in and do what he did and do it with the energy that he did was, again, just a reflection of that room and him specifically in terms of just his character and his commitment to this team.
And to even just follow that up, what goes into the game plan against Duke, a team, a program that Northwestern has faced multiple years in the past?
Yeah, there's a lot of crossover. I mean, there's multiple guys on that Duke staff that spent time here at Northwestern, that have relationships with guys on our staff that understand, the way that, we see the game of football and coach the game of football. So there's a little bit of a chess match going on in that regard. But what I can tell you is there's just a tremendous amount of respect for the way that program has operated over the course of the last, decade, during Coach Cutcliffe and now with the new staff and what they've been able to do last year and into this year. It's impressive. They've built a good foundation. They're climbing right now. They're playing at a really high level in all three phases. We understand we're not only dealing with a talented team, but we're dealing with a very well coached team.
Coach, you're going from a big win at home against UTEP, and now you're the underdogs on the road at Duke. How do you get the team to make that emotional turnaround, and then what are your goals for Saturday's game?
Staying completely focused on our process and our passion. Again, like I said last week, I think this group is at its best as an underdog. So we're not paying attention to lines, but that's the first I heard of it. But I welcome that information, and there certainly is. As we talked about, we talked about that this year is not going to be linear. There's going to be ups and downs. After Rutgers, it was certainly a huge letdown. There was certainly an emotional high from Saturday. We need to return to our process, make sure that we show up with a great deal of passion and energy, and put our best foot forward. And I think we know that we've known this all the while, but Saturday was a great reminder that we have a good football team. We have the right collection of young men of high character that love playing for one another. And anytime that you show up with that type of focus and that type of passion, you're going to give yourselves a chance. So we're going to talk about Duke and how they attack us and understand our opponent, but we're going to put all our energy into just making sure we show up at our best.
How important was it to get AJ more touches on Saturday? And as a defensive coordinator, what problems would he pose for guys trying to game plan against him?
Yeah, it was critical. A credit to Coach Bajakian and the offensive staff for finding ways to get the ball in his hands. I think AJ poses, issues for a lot of reasons. I mean, it's things that, when we're in fall camp and we're not going off a script, we're truly calling offense and defense. It's something that, I certainly had to be aware of what calls we were going to be in with AJ on the field. I think it's just his versatility that makes him so difficult to defend. His ability to line up in the backfield, his ability to receive the ball, on fly sweeps and jet motions, his ability to line up at slot receiver. You don't know where he's going to line up and where he's going to end up. I'm excited to see how our offensive staff continues to find ways to utilize him, and we're excited to get him going in the special teams game as well.
Coach, both games so far, your defense has given up an opening drive touchdown. How do you start faster on that side of football?
That's a great question. If you have any suggestions for me, I'm open to them. No, I think what you've seen out of our group is poise and an ability to settle in. I think you see a group that is very hungry and almost is walking into games, with this expectation of being perfect. And we all know that the game isn't played that way. It's you strive for perfection, but it's fleeting. You're never going to find that. I think it just comes down to this group collectively, all 11 on the field, maturing from a standpoint of not trying to make every play, just doing our job and being very disciplined with where our eyes need to be. Some of the issues that we've seen are guys that are putting their eyes where they don't belong because they want to be involved on everything. And at the end of the day, we just need to focus on doing our job and being disciplined with our eyes.
Coach, Jack Welch was a huge spark for the team with the first touchdown of the game and then big run in the second half. How does the team plan to utilize him going forward? And then what does it mean to you to see a sophomore contribute at that level, given that in the traditional quarterback depth chart it seems like he might be fourth string?
Yeah. The details and specifics, I'll leave that to the offensive staff. What I can tell you is he's a young man that there's been consistent conversations from myself to the rest of our staff that he's a young man that needs to be on the field. He just does. As you saw, he's got the ability to do some things that can really change the math for a defense, and pretty neat to see a young man of his age, his youth, Southside Chicago guy that again, if you were around for winter workouts, you would point to that young man and say, man, that guy embodies what this program is all about, just from a toughness, a resiliency standpoint, a natural leadership standpoint. Still developing as a quarterback, but very, very talented and continuing to grow. Jack knows how much I believe in him, and he knows how much our team believes in him. We need to continue to find ways to utilize him.
And Coach, kind of as was mentioned earlier, Northwestern has played Duke the last 2 years, and it did not go the program's way. How much have you utilized that tape to rewatch preparing for somebody like Riley Leonard versus trying to implementing your own style with a new team?
Yeah, no, it's just collecting information. Our defensive structure is different now than it was in past years, specifically last year, but there's enough similarities in terms of 4-down structure. My gosh, I mean, to Riley's credit, I mean, he just continues to get better and better. You watch the film on him last year and you go, hey, this is a good quarterback, and you watch the film now and you go, my gosh. I joked around with with the defensive staff earlier today. If you had a clone machine for what you wanted in a college starting quarterback, he's pretty close, just in terms of his ability to process the game, be efficient in the passing game, extend plays with his feet, push the ball downfield, be utilized in quarterback run game. He's done a tremendous job. That coaching staff has done a tremendous job. He and that staff and that entire offense as a whole, it's not just him. He's got plenty of weapons around him, a very well-coached offensive line, very talented offensive line. That group poses all sorts of issues.
Coach, what did you see out of Bryce Kurtz on Saturday, and just what he brought to the wide receiver room and just open things up?
Yeah, no, I think you said it. I think he has the ability to open some things up in terms of his ability to be a shot guy that can really push the ball down the field. I think he also saw just veteran leadership that naturally brings on confidence, not only from himself but from others. Again, being out at practice and being around Bryce for as long as I have since I arrived in spring, he just when he's on and he's in his rhythm, which is frequent. He not only makes our team better, but he makes that group better. He makes everyone else around him play at a higher level.
Coach, Jeremiah Lewis obviously was here with you in the spring before transferring back to Duke this summer. What is your relationship with him, and what is he like as a player that you can tell?
Yeah, very good player, very mature, smart, driven. We were disappointed to see him go. At the same time, during the time that he made that decision, there's no hard feelings. He made a decision based on, a time of uncertainty, and again, that's where I'll come back to. The 103 that chose to stay, they chose to stay. Why did they choose to stay? They chose to stay because of their love and admiration for one another. And credit credit to those guys. But no hard feelings towards him for leaving. He was a good player, and certainly a tremendous amount of respect for the way he plays the game.
Time for a few more. Lawrence?
Coach, now a few days removed from Saturday, is there any position group you felt like really impressed you on Saturday that, that you look forward to seeing how they grow even more?
I was most impressed. We have a lot to work on, a lot to clean up. I was overall just so impressed again with the energy, the effort, the passion that was just coming out of our guys. I mean, that is the expectation every single week, regardless of the result. That is the expectation every single week. The two groups that, stand out to me going back and watching the film in all three phases, was really proud of the way that the offensive line moved the line of scrimmage in the second half. And I'll involve the tight ends in that. I mean, the offensive line and tight ends, the way that they moved the line of scrimmage in the second half. And then there was just some downfield effort plays out of our tight end group. Specifically Marshall Lang, got voted our offensive player of the week. Go back and check the stats, everyone. He didn't record a stat, but was voted offensive player of the game just by the way he played, the effort that he played with that Joe Hyman touchdown. I mean, that's Marshall Lang. I mean, straining to finish a block. That springs that thing from a big gain into a touchdown. So to answer your question directly, very impressed with the growth in that offense line room, specifically in the run game, and very impressed with the way that our tight ends continue to stress defenses with their ability to be multiple and the effort that those guys are playing with right now.
Ted, then Dave, then Brad.
Coach, two of your linebackers had picks, and plus your defensive line came up with some pressure. Big change from a week ago.
Yeah, again, you guys will, everyone will get sick of me, using the two words of complementary football, but continue to, because we believe in it. And those two things are complementary in terms of playing off. It's no coincidence that both of those showed up. They tend to show up together. More pressure on the quarterback, more opportunities to attack the ball in the air with quarterbacks making ill-advised decisions. Good coverage, stressed out quarterback that holds on to the football, more opportunities for sacks. So that's something a reflection of no sacks is not just a reflection of D-line play. And a lack of interceptions or opportunities to make plays on the ball isn't just a lack of back half play. They play in together, and that will need to continue for us to have the success that we're looking for.
Follow-up, does Xander take some heat for not making a move inside the 5 and scoring?
It was discussed on the sideline. There was a lot of great job. Why didn't you score a touchdown? But great play. I mean, great play. Him and Galley made some big-time plays. And then, Joey Dehan, young man, talk about a guy owning his role. He had been the scout team defensive player of the week after Rutgers, and gets his opportunity, owns his role, not satisfied with it, owns his role, gets an opportunity to get on the field and makes a big-time pick there in the fourth quarter. Tinley Park, Southside Chicago kid, totally bought in. So excited for him. He's getting better. It was fun to see.
Coach, Hunter so far has been your punter this year. Luke took a lot of reps last year. What was the decision to put Hunter back there instead? And do you expect to see a dual punter system, or is Hunter your guy moving forward?
With both young men, we'll continue to develop both. Both are weapons, and both have a great skill set. They're just very different skill sets in terms of, Hunter's comfort level of moving the pocket on punts, being able to do some different things there. Does a great job with his operation time, which is obviously very critical in terms of anytime you have your punt unit going out there, you certainly want to flip the field, but you also want to ensure that the protection is at the, forefront of your mind. And Luke's an absolute weapon. I mean, when he gets into one, talk about flipping the field. The young man can absolutely boom it. So we'll continue to evaluate how to maximize that specialist group, but both are doing some really good things right now.
Completely unrelated. We saw you dancing in the locker room post game. Where'd you learn those moves, and did Kristen approve of them?
You know what? There's a very firm understanding with those that know me. and Kristen probably would reference back to our wedding. I'm not afraid to. Well, the first understanding is I lack rhythm. The second understanding is I'm a high effort guy, so I'll get out on the dance floor and I'll be moving. I'll be having a good time. Just don't expect any rhythm to be along with it. So.
Last question, Brad.
And Coach, against Rutgers, you guys kind of turned away from the run game as Rutgers opened up a double-digit deficit for you guys. Against Duke, how do you make sure to keep the run game going and establish that balance, even if Duke does open a big lead?
Complementary football. It takes all of us. It's getting stops on defense. It's staying committed to it, on the offense side of the ball, celebrating 3-yard gains, 4-yard gains, celebrating moving the line of scrimmage and maybe a 1-yard gain, but trusting it and coming back to it, understand that's going to open up more opportunities as the game goes. We just something to celebrate. It snowballed in the second half for us in a positive way. The dominoes started to fall, but that was a result of taking the ball away on defense, protecting the ball on offense, and being efficient on 3rd and 4th down, a couple 3-and-outs, a couple takeaways, and all of a sudden you see our offense, really start to take off. That's how we win here. It's not going to be flashy. It's going to take 4 quarters, but it's going to be staying true to our process and our identity as a team. But to do that, it's going to require that, both sides of the ball, all 3 phases, including special teams, hold up their end of the bargain so that the offense can feel like they're on schedule and that, the game is not something where we have to chase a score. We can just stay true to our process.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, everyone.